Raptors fans have quickly gone from fighting over Keon Johnson and Moses Moody to fighting over Jalen Suggs and Jalen Green. So in this video, we assess what impact Jalen Suggs would have on the Toronto Raptors. Does he make them immediate contenders? Let's get into it. Welcome NBA and Raptors fans to Amateur Hour Sports. This is the channel where you get NBA content with a focus on the Toronto Raptors at least 4 days a week. That is Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. Today is your Monday episode where we are doing a Jalen Suggs draft profile. So if you like what you see from today's video about more of myself talking about the Raptors and the rest of the NBA in content just like this, make sure to hit that subscribe button down below to show your support to the channel. We're getting very close to 4,000 subscribers. Thank you guys so much for the insane support that has been coming on the channel very recently. But let's get down to business for today. Again, we're talking about Jalen Suggs because it is still setting in on me. The Raptors, the lottery gods blessed us, and we got the 4th overall pick in this upcoming NBA entry draft. And like I said in the intro, there were a lot of guys that we could discuss taking with that 7th or 8th pick, or maybe even slipping further. But now that we're in the top 4, by some miracle, we did it. Now we're just talking about 3 guys: Mobley, Suggs, and Green. And we already did a full video about Jalen Green, which I will link just above if you want to go check that out. And that was before I knew what was going to happen in the lottery. And I was just speculating, if we did manage to get a top 3 pick, this is the guy that I would take. But we don't have that top 3 pick. Not that I'm complaining, not that I'm being picky in any way whatsoever, and neither should you. Do not be picky here. No matter who we get here, it is going to be a win for the franchise. But I think that the most likely player to fall to 4th overall in this draft is Jalen Suggs. And if you want to call it a consolation prize, then my goodness, is that some consolation prize. So what we're going to do in this video, I'm going to break down to you his college stats, then we're going to go into his strengths, his weaknesses, and we're going to finish the video off with a player comparable. And the player comparable I have is not one that I have seen commonly used in any sort of NBA media. So stay tuned to the end of the video to check that out. But essentially, we just got a full draft profile breakdown for Jalen Suggs today. So let's get into those college stats, those NCAA stats. Playing for Gonzaga, almost had that undefeated season before falling at the very last hurdle. They fell to Baylor in the national championship game. Baylor, what a game Baylor played there. But regardless, the season that Gonzaga had was led by Jalen Suggs, the best player on that team, though maybe wasn't always the first option for scoring. He was absolutely the best player and showcased it with this stat line. 14.4 points per game is quite good for Jalen Suggs. I would be very pleased with this coming into NBA because scoring isn't his biggest thing. He's more of that playmaker, that facilitator, and he's got some other stats that back that up. 4.5 assists per game, going along with 5.3 rebounds per game. That is quite good. That is quite good for a point guard with those rebounds. You're also looking at his field goal percentages, over 50% shooting from the field for a point guard. That is very, very nice, and that is something that would translate well into the NBA. Also, 33.7% three-point shooting. That's all right. It's not phenomenal, but that is all right, and I find that that is acceptable for a player coming into the league. Then you go to his steals, showcasing his defense. 1.9 steals per game. That is quite good for a player in his position. Again, I am very happy with those stat lines. Maybe the points per game could have been higher, but after you're going to learn about his strengths and weaknesses, maybe not the strong suit of his game or not that main point of his game. So let's actually break down these strengths of his game. I've got quite a few strengths for Jalen Suggs, and honestly, it was a little bit difficult to confine them all into just this graphic that I have here. So the biggest one for me is obviously the playmaking and facilitating. Jalen Suggs is a master at reading the game, a master at finding the passes, is a great passer. He's got a football background, so he's got the arm, the ability to pick guys out when it comes to, sort of those QB tendencies. He can run the offense into sort of that quarterback role, can find those guys in transition. And that is excellent for somebody like Pascal Siakam, who definitely loves to run in transition, and I think that he would fit really well with the Raptors in that endeavor, among others. Then you also got his athletics and his footwork. This is again where football comes into play. The footwork, you can absolutely see his football background when it comes to his footwork and his athleticism. That 50% field goal percentage, it comes down to his footwork and his athletics, his ability to find separation, get to the rim, get those easy finishes at the rim, but also can finish through contact when necessary. The athletics help him to do that. The footwork also allows him to be a great defender, as you'll see soon. and the athletics allow him to grab those rebounds again, which you'll see soon. The athletics and footwork really trickles down into all of the other strengths about his game. He's got excellent basketball IQ to read and defense, to pick out the right pass, to execute and isolate on mismatches, to find the best option, whether it be for himself, whether that be for other people. It doesn't really matter to him. He is going to find the best outcome for his team. As mentioned, you've also got the rebounding. Those 5 rebounds per game for a point guard is quite good. This is a guy who come into the NBA and possibly average, 16, 17 points, also put up like 7 rebounds, 7 assists. These are good signs for a player coming into the NBA, especially one playing for the Raptors. You've also got that defense, as I was talking about, the footwork. Definitely helps him in this regard. Also, the ability to read an offense with that basketball IQ, gets those steals, as you saw, the 1.9 steals per game. Lots to like there already. His efficiency, as you saw with those percentages, is also very, very good. Again, finishing on the interior isn't always the strong suit for a point guard, but for a guy like Jalen Suggs, it is absolutely there. He gets to the rim with purpose and finishes with purpose. And our final one is the intangibles. And his intangibles are absolutely off the chart. He's a leader, a warrior, a hustler, and these are all traits that fit in very well with the Raptors. These intangibles just showcase that you can rely on a lot of these great traits of his game to transition into the NBA, because he is willing to make these things work, because he's got the heart, the desire, and that mentality to be a great player. That fits within the Raptors' DNA, because maybe when they don't always have the best talent, they work the hardest, they outwork the opponent, and they outmatch them because of it. Jalen Suggs fits into that culture. All of these things, I think, make Jalen Suggs a perfect fit for the Raptors, and I think that what's great about this team that he played for, Gonzaga, they were loaded. Let's be honest, they were loaded, and Jalen Suggs was the best player on the team, but didn't need to be the main scorer of the ball because there were other guys around him. He knows how to play within an offense with other great players around him, and I find that the Raptors aren't as top-heavy as other teams, but adding in a guy like Jalen Suggs would make them very balanced and have a lot of talent. And Jalen Suggs is one of the best players at enabling everybody around him to be better as well, which will appeal to Siakam, VanVleet, and Anunoby. And the playmaking will facilitate the game for Siakam to get more points for himself. Lots to like about Suggs, but we do, of course, have to address weaknesses as well. I'm going to be honest, when it comes to Suggs, a top 4 pick, it's hard to find weaknesses. The first weakness that I pick out is that 3-point percentage, which 33.7. It isn't even that bad, but I think that transitioning that to the NBA, it will take some time for him to truly get that 3-point percentage down. You could also clump that into the mid-range game. Not fully ready for the NBA, but definitely something that can be developed to the NBA level, but a bit of a weakness right now, and that kind of transitions into the second one, which is the one-dimensional offense. When he was in college, your athleticism, your natural ability can take you far enough. Because of his athletics and his footwork, he could find the separation, get those easy opportunities at the rim. But when you get to the NBA well, now everybody is athletic as you. Everybody is as fast and has that great footwork that you have. You don't have that cutting edge that you did have before, but he's got to add other elements to his game, like the jump shot, to make him a little bit more unpredictable. And I think that's something he worked on in college but isn't quite polished, is that floater game. You see Luka Doncic, Trae Young executing that floater game because they can't always get to the rim. That's going to provide that unpredictability that he needs for the NBA. He's working on it, but it's something that still needs more time to develop. And one thing that I counted as, it's not really, I wouldn't say it's really a weakness, but let's just mention it because people are going to care about it. It's the clutch moments. The Raptors, we've been saying they don't have that clutch guy. That guy, you stick it to his hands in the clutch and he gets you that basket. Jalen Suggs is not the guy who's going to get you those buckets when you need it the most. Jalen Suggs is going to be that facilitator that makes everybody else better for those clutch situations. And even though he may not be the guy getting the bucket, he can create opportunities for others. Now, what I don't want to see, look, I get it. Jalen Suggs hit a really cool buzzer beater in an NCAA playoff game. He banked a half-court shot, and I would call that, sure, you want to call that clutch gene, sure, go ahead. I call that a lucky shot, and anybody who ever hits a half-court bank shot, I would absolutely call that lucky. What I want to see for clutch moments is the half-court situations where you're getting to the rim, hitting a mid-range, hitting a three. That, sure, really cool, really great for clutch moments, but as in terms of being that clutch gene player. Not quite there yet, but he doesn't need to be. We're asking a guy who isn't that to be that guy. That's not really a criticism of his game. It's just the Raptors need that, and he isn't quite that guy. So that's not really a weakness on him. It's just a weakness of the Raptors to not already have that guy. But as we've seen with the Raptors, they don't always need that single player to be good in the clutch. The team as a collective has been good in the clutch, and that's what kind of helped them en route to being this great team even when Kawhi Leonard left, because they could orchestrate an offense to pick out the best matchup for specific players, which would allow them to get their bucket in the clutch, not just because the player just did it themselves. It's team-oriented, and Jalen Suggs fits into that big time. So I've got two player comparables for this category. We'll call them a bit of a mesh of these two players. I think the first one, a little bit more obvious, is Brandon Roy. I've seen this player comparable being thrown out by a lot of people. Other ones I saw were like Drew Holiday, Utah, Darren Williams. Those I don't quite agree with. I like the Brandon Roy one for his ability to kind of use his athleticism to glide past players, get to the rim. That sort of physique and that sort of talent and natural ability that Brandon Roy had, I see that in Jalen Suggs, so I like that one. But one I am more keen on, and Raptors fans, you're going to know this one well. I compare him a lot to Kyle Lowry because Kyle Lowry is the perfect player for those clutch situations. Kyle Lowry isn't that bucket getter, and there was nobody on the Raptors who was that bucket getter in the season. We finished second the year after Kawhi Leonard left. But the Raptors were still one of the best clutch teams in the league, which led them to the second best record in the Eastern Conference. So how did they manage that? Well, Kyle Lowry was such a smart player, such a calculated player, that he ran an offense that isolated the mismatches. He found the best option for his teammates. So even though it wasn't him always getting those buckets in the clutch, though sometimes it was, he knew what the best matchup for his team was. He knew where the best matchup on the court was for his teammates, for his organization. Jalen Suggs fits that dynamic, though he isn't the guy who's going to always put the ball in the basket as that number one option. He can run the offense to be that great clutch team rather than that specific clutch player. With his IQ, his defense, not always going to be the most tenacious in terms of just willing the ball into the basket. There was a lot to like about his smarts and his ability to run a team, be that leader on the court, and that is a great comparison to Kyle Lowry. And if he's anything like Kyle Lowry, the greatest Raptor of all time, I think that Raptors fans have a lot to look forward to in Jalen Suggs. I can see why guys rate Suggs over Green. Though Green might be the better player, Suggs definitely fits our system better. And playing with Fred VanVleet as a combo guard, both Fred VanVleet and Jalen Suggs can provide minutes as the point guard or the shooting guard. They can rotate, they can play in tandem. Jalen Suggs can play on the ball or off the ball, as can Fred VanVleet. I think that Suggs will take a lot of the playmaking workload off of Fred VanVleet, so he can go out and be that, shooting guard. He's a shooting guard trapped in a point guard's body, so Suggs will enable him to be that a little bit more often because he can take a lot of that playmaking workload. I think that the double point guard duo will work here, especially that Jalen Suggs is quite a bit taller. I think that Suggs fits this system perfectly, and if we get him at 4, I am going to be extraordinarily happy about this pick. So what do you guys think of Jalen Suggs? Is he your favorite player out of Green, Suggs, and Mobley? Is he your least favorite player, but you're still going to be happy to get him at 4th? Let me know all of your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that wraps up for me for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you are still here, be sure to hit that like button if you did enjoy the video at any point. Really goes a long way to helping us reach new viewers with that YouTube algorithm. Also shows me that you made it to the end of the video. Check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/amateurhoursports. We watch a ton of NBA playoff games. We're doing it tonight. We're doing it tomorrow as well. Make sure to subscribe to the channel with the button over here. On a road to 4,000 subscribers. We hit 3,700 already, on our way to 38, but we want that 4,000 milestone. You can help us get there. Other videos by the channel that you may enjoy, and always remember, at the end of the day, I believe what I say, and if you disagree, that is okay. Enjoy the grind, and we'll see you again next time for another video.